This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1061 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from the Total Saddle Fit Trainer Tip of the Week on the Dressage Radio Show. Michelle Folden joins show co-hosts Philip Parks and Reese Kofler-Stanfield to talk about why rider form is key to a great performance. And we'll get right to our tip after this important message from Uncle Jimmy's. Uncle Jimmy's Hanging Balls and Licky Things help combat stall boredom by providing your horse entertainment in the stall, while at the same time providing them with much-needed minerals and nutrients not found in other treats. Uncle Jimmy's has training treats covered, too, with Uncle Jimmy's Squeezy Buns. Every deliciously soft, squishy treat is individually wrapped for freshness, so your pockets won't get gummed up. Ask for Uncle Jimmy's Hanging Balls, Licky Things, and Squeezy Buns at your local tack and feed supplier, or you can go online to uncle-jimmys.com.
We are so happy to have a friend of Philip and I's, Michelle Folden. She is from Charleston, South Carolina, and she is a bronze and silver medalist and an L graduate with distinction. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we saw you the other night. We had the pleasure of, we all got together for dinner, and we said, Michelle, it is time to come on the show for a trainer tip of the week. So what is our tip for this week?
Well, and that's when I said, oh, my goodness, what am I going to talk about? Anyway, Philip laughed and said, well, what don't you talk about? But what's going on forward from that?
We had a conversation about having to limit you down to about, 20 minutes instead of 3 or 4 hours. But I think we can do it tonight, eh?
Anyway, I would love to talk about how your riding form has functioned and how important that is. Our riding school teaches quite a bit of junior riders and adult amateurs. And Reese had shared with me that lots of the listeners are adult amateurs, which is fantastic. And I just wanted to maybe give some things to think about that they could carry on with them into their riding, into their day riding. And basically, really thinking about how important your form is versus just the movements. And, we get lots of adult amateurs that come to us and have entered a test, or junior riders or any rider. And they get so focused on the movements of the test that sometimes they forget how important their position is, and that their position actually is the leader in taking the horse through those movements. And I think it's important that the rider not just focus on that movement, but in between the movements, really go through a position check, that they're sitting straight, they have that nice straight line that we all learned about in riding school, ear, shoulder, hip, heel, that they think about how tall they're sitting and kind of position check. So if you've made the leg yield and you're making the corner, say to yourself, can I press my heels down through this corner? Am I riding this corner? And that they really make every step count, not only for the horse, but for them.
I think I'm going to go one step beyond that and make sure that while you're doing the movements, that you're doing your position check, because no movement should throw you out of your position. And it, even if the horse is going really well, you want the rider to make it look beautiful while they're doing it, right? Because we're always judged.
I totally agree.
We're always judged together as a combination, and you can't. Some people fall back on, I fell on my hip, but the horse did a really good job, so I did good, right? Well, not always. Not always.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I think that it's so hard sometimes when you do get so focused on that one movement that you do allow yourself to kind of give up what you know is correct with your equitation. So I think in a checklist, when you're not doing that movement, if you can really make your brain start to think about it, I do think that then it does carry over in, through your movements. And even today, I thought about, what am I going to talk about? And I was having a lesson myself because it's so fantastic here. That's why we're here, is to train every day. And I kept thinking, push my heels down. And I promise you, the horse's trot got better just from pushing my heels down. I didn't do a darn thing except push the heels down. And I also think it's so important that the riders remember, when you're on that horse, you're training or untraining. And that's not just for the horse, that's for you. That if you're going to dedicate those 45 minutes to your riding time, dedicate it. Sit up. Really hold your posture. Sometimes I'll look over and see, especially my junior riders, they'll be slumped over talking to each other during the moment of a lesson. And I always say to them, these are my 45 minutes. These are your 45 minutes. Make the most of it. Give it everything you have. And I say the same with when you're, walking or trotting or cantering that horse. That's your day. You have to own it. So if you're going to let the horse walk that slow, don't be upset when you get the score on your free walk that it says it needs more energy because you've been training a slow energy walk. And I think both of those tips of just remembering your form and really dedicating yourself to those 45 minutes to an hour.
I love the phrasing, own it, right? Own your ride.
Yeah.
Own your position. It's all about you. So get it done, right?
And make it yours, exactly.
And we talk about this too, and this is a sort of another element on this discussion, and that is there is a level of fitness that needs to happen as well. And we have actually a trainer tip waiting for us for a rider who wants some more fitness tips. And I think that the fitter you can be, and I can say that because I'm working on it myself. I'm like, Michelle, we're down here.
Me too. Me too.
We're in boot camp.
Hitting the gym.
Hitting the yoga studio. And I can be honest that, I've been here 6 weeks and my gosh, those first 2 weeks were brutal. I just was so tired. But the fitter I am, the better I am at even working on my own position. I'm the same way, watch yourself in the corner. Philip just yelled at me all week. It was great, but watch your seat, watch your fitness. So I'm going to bring that in here too, because I think we all need to work on it. And I don't think you even hear of the top riders and they work on their fitness. So I think that's just another part to throw in here. The fitter you are, the more muscle control you have, the better you ride and the better you feel. So that was something else I just wanted to throw into that into the discussion.
I totally agree, because that's the only way you're truly going to be independent. I am not a vision of fitness I would like to be, but I do try to spend 3 hours a week just because of my cardio really gets me, especially as I've gotten older. And that's somewhere where, I know that I really need to spend some time and would love to even have, more time. I know a lot of riders have really gotten into CrossFit and talk about how, that's really helping them. And, I think we all have different things we have to do if you have a bad back or whatever you need to do, yoga and stretching. But those are all of my suggestions.
No, that's great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I just wanted to add one thing to the rider equitation thing is it's about creating good habits, right? Because we all know that we have bad habits that we wish we would have never gotten into. And if somebody had been there to tell us, hey, don't do this, don't do that, that we would be really grateful for. So when you're owning your ride and when you're running through the movements or you're running through your test, the more you can sit correctly and properly, then you're not creating bad habits. I think we can all say, oh, well, today I just want to get it done and run through this or run through that. And we get guilty of not really owning the details, right? But when we get into, we're either going to get into good habits or we're going to get into bad habits. So why not every day be getting into the right habits and not having to fix things down the road?
I think it's very easy, too, to be at home if you don't have mirrors. At our farm, we don't have mirrors. And you're not always surrounded by someone who rides better than you or, equitates better than you. It's so good to have a good visual. So if you don't have that, I really always recommend to my riders, watch a good video the night before or the morning, depending on your timing, and try to emulate them. We all have our idols that we love and want to try to sit like and be like. And if you can keep that visual in your mind, it really helps. And as you go through your little point checks of, I want to try to look like that on a horse.
Well, that about takes care of it. You can find links to today's guests, topics, or products at horsetipdaily.com. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Uncle Jimmy's and listeners like you. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.